So yeah, we golfed this morning. It was a good time. We'll definitely try to get one in before your surgery. How you feel about that? Are you ready?
No, I'm scared. I thought about it I was like first started with the injury, like how cool, like yeah, I just get over with it now. Like the days are coming, so I was like scared, really scared.
Yeah. So Gage has an injury that has occurred, and it was an injury that's turned into us finding out that it's a bone deformity. So he's going to get that taken care of, so he can get back on the football field and the basketball court. And it's been a challenge for this family, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in episodes to come when we interview you. So today, I kind of wanted to, as I started this podcast, obviously, it's all built around fatherhood. And so at first, I was going to do this episode when we talk, just ask them. It's supposed to be raw and real. So the first few episodes, anyways, are going to be about me before I turn it around and start interviewing people and having people on, including yourself. So in order to get an understanding of who I am as a host, I felt it was imperative that I share my story, the good, bad, and the ugly. And I was going to do that just in the camera, but I thought it would make more sense to maybe just have this conversation with you and let cameras pick up on it and let our audience kind of watch us interact and, just see from I really am just want you to see, I know you know a lot about my upbringing, but as we get to these next few episodes, I want you to really understand it and kind of, you know, off camera on your own terms, just compare, the life that I've lived to what you get to live, and not feel bad for having a great life, but get to just really enjoy, having the things that you have and stuff like that. So without further ado, welcome to episode 1 of FartherHood. On tonight's show, I don't know why I said show. Welcome to episode 1 of FartherHood. It's myself along with my oldest son. Do you want to introduce yourself? Okay, that's Gage. He's a pretty straight shooter on the microphone. I think he will get comfortable as we get along with this show. Okay, so we're just going to start this off. So episode 1 it's going to start my life story. We have attempted to film this already downstairs, and it almost felt very Q&A-ish. We were both kind of looking in the camera, weren't really getting to talk to each other. While we were talking, I think I realized just how much I don't remember about my life. So I've kind of wrote down a couple things of what I want to touch on, and a lot of it we're just going to fast forward through. So I'll just let you know, I was born in Lexington, Kentucky, and shortly thereafter have lived in Nicholasville, Lexington, and then Wilmington, Ohio. A lot of those moves were made with just my mom. I've been told that my dad was at the hospital I was born. I was born on Father's Day. I think we're on TV.
You're on TV?
I was on TV, on the news.
Like, of you getting bored?
No, not of me being born, but of actually just, because I was born on Father's Day, and I guess in that area, so it was a cool news story at that time. So I've been told that, obviously I don't recall that, but in those stints of Nicholasville, Lexington, and Ohio, it was mainly my mom and my grandmother that I resided with. I think my mom and I lived in an apartment complex with my grandmother. She had her own apartment, but I think we lived further back in the back of it. And at the time, my mom worked. I know that's probably a very normal thing to do, but at the time, I remember my mom working, and I stayed with my grandmother a lot. She worked numerous different jobs, I think, and it was just me and her. I don't think my dad was around very long. I was born Michael Manley, so that was my name. That's my biological dad's last name. So, with him disappearing, I don't know if he disappeared or not, and I hope that he gets to come on here and tell a story. He kind of faded out of the picture very early, under 2, I believe. And, I don't know who's going to fact check me on that, but I would love, one day my goal is for me to sit across from him and let's have this same conversation. So that'll be an exciting episode if we ever get there. My grandmother did not want me to carry on his last name, and rightfully so. Like, my grandmother was pretty much raising me. My mom, my uncle was jumping in. So my grandmother wanted my last name to be Horn. So, because that's my mom's maiden name, and that's the family's last name. So I don't say we, I was like a baby. They went down to the courthouse and had my name changed. So I was born in Manly, and then within a couple of years of that, there's times in my life I've thought, like, should I be a Manly? Like, should that be my last name? And it's no disrespect to my dad. And I would tell him if he was right in front of me, but like, that's not that's not a last name that deserves to be represented by me, because I've turned out too good from what I was to carry on a name of somebody that wasn't around. And I don't mean that in a mean way to him. I just mean that, like, there's too many people in my life that have helped get me to where I am, that to carry on a last name that means nothing. Like, I would, I look up there and I have my Army stuff and it has Horn on my name tag. And, that's the name that I want to have represented my country for. And that's the name that I want to be on my headstone whenever I finally perish. But I thought that was an interesting story that my last name was changed. So I don't really remember much super early. I really don't. I know this book right here, and we'll kind of go through it as we navigate through these shows. But this book, and I've talked about it, this appointment book that my grandmother wrote, man, like, it's just filled with so much stuff. Maybe one day, I don't know how old I was, but I wasn't too young. So, like, yeah, birth through 5 years, I really can't tell you. And I put something on Facebook for everybody to just tell me their earliest childhood memories, and I remember things a little bit, but not much. That some people remember things when they were like 2. I just don't have that. And I don't know if I just blocked it out or what. I remember my mom running into this man at Walmart, I think. I don't know. I'm sure they knew each other. I was young. But he became my future stepdad. I know we ran into him, and we had stayed in his house. And I remember being there, and this is also so I know I'm on the age of, like, the early, I'm at like 7. My grandmother writes about it in this book. But I remember staying there, and I remember, like, we moved into his house in Lexington, and he had, like, when we first moved in, he had these, like, thoroughbred horses on the wall, like, paneling back in the day. So that's cool, I guess. It looked cool. And I remember laying in bed, like, one of my memories is laying in bed with them, and I don't know if it was waterbed or not, but laying in bed with them and watching a boxing match. That was one of my earliest memories, is being in between them, and it was like my first time laying in bed with, like, a mom and a dad type situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it was so comforting or cool to me to be, like, sleeping over and in bed with mom and dad, just hanging out and watching a movie. Like, I felt like cloud 9. And so that was probably, I don't know, 7 or 8. I don't know what age I was, honestly. And so my life kind of, at that point in time, I want to say normal. There was normal moments in my life. My mom and him got married. He became a stepdad. At the time, I was an only child. When they first got married, it was just me. We just did normal stuff. Let's see here. Sorry, guys, I have notes. I just want to, yeah, normal stuff. Like, I remember I got to play sports. I had pool parties and sleepovers. I got to play football and baseball. Everything just seemed normal. My grandmother would come and stay up there. I'd have friends over in the neighborhood. We went to this place called the Back Court. Like, we literally all ride our bikes. And this is this is a little bit later on. This is probably 5th, 6th grade, but we'd ride our bikes to this cul-de-sac and, like, hang out all the time. So that was like the most normal stage of my life. But I started getting to, it had to be 5th grade. I started getting up to 5th grade, and for one, and I do have a half brother and a half sister that reside in Phoenix, along with their biological dad and grandparents. But early on, man, I was treated normal. And then I kind of put my notes here. I said my mom and my stepdad had 2 kids of their own, and things seemed off. So, like, that's why, as a step parent to somebody, or, you've had step parents, like, and people out there, like, if you're a step parent, I think your main job, before anything, before discipline, before structure, before providing, I think your main job as a step parent has to be, especially if you have other kids, has to be making that child feel like you belong. Like, it is so important to make that child feel like that house you live in is their home too, and they're not treated differently. That did not happen for me. And not only do I know that because I felt it, but this book right here confirms it. My grandmother talked about it. I'm not going to mention their names in here because I want to know that if they are okay with me talking about them. But I do have my half brother and my half sister that live in Phoenix. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother after they were born. First, it was my brother. It seems like my mom kind of went off the deep end a little bit, and I started realizing. So I put me and my stepdad drifted on here. So my stepdad, he was a hard worker. He had a nice house. He took care of things, but he was a full blown alcoholic. And obviously, when you're young, you don't know what I'm saying. Like, you wouldn't know what that means at that age. I remember finding vodka bottles all in our house, like hidden, like empty ones, full ones. They were hidden in shoes and boots and closets and raincoat. Like, there was a yellow raincoat out in the garage. I remember it just being loaded down with vodka bottles. And it was just so crazy because I remember my mom, you know how my mom is now. I remember her being so normal. Like, I look back now, I'm like, man, she was so normal. And I don't, people on the podcast, I don't mean so normal, like, I don't mean to offend, but I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, once you start dabbling into alcohol and prescription medication abuse and substance abuse, that person no longer becomes normal. It's just crazy to see where she's at now versus where she was. So I just felt that she was so normal. And she was constantly trying to correct my stepdad, like, hey, you can't be drinking for the kids. Hey, you got to stop drinking. I remember all this, like, it's in this book. Like, and I could sense, like, something just was so off. Like, you know, it got to the point where I put in here, like, I would hear them fighting for hours. And I would remember staying up all night. And it started affecting me at school. So could you imagine in 5th grade, like, you got to get up and go to school in the morning, and you're staying up till 3 or 4 in your bedroom. Like, I would literally stand by my door. I would put like a shirt and a towel or whatever so I could turn on a light, and then I would sit there and just listen to them. I was scared to go to bed because I just wanted to hear what was happening. And, looking back, I wish I didn't hear a lot of that stuff because it scared me to death. But yeah, it's nothing on my brother and definitely nothing on my sister. But after they came along, I just didn't fit. Like, I didn't fit in the house. Like, I was completely removed from the family circle. And my mom did everything at the time to keep me involved, but also I think she just felt like she had to side. And so when she knew I wasn't being treated right and stuff, she just rode with it because she had so much going on with her other kids and stuff. Yeah, and also, like, as time progressed, and I don't know how this fits into the story, I'm just going to tell you. As time progressed, like, it was made clear that I'm a half brother. Like, it was made clear to them all through until they finally got divorced later, which we'll talk about. It was made clear that I was just their half brother. And so I think that's crap for any parents out there that, you have stepchildren or you have, quote unquote half siblings. If you draw the line, like, I'm going to look in the camera when I say this. If you make sure your children know that one of their siblings is a half brother or sister, you're a terrible human being. Straight up, there's no other way around it. If you as an adult make a child, now I'm not talking a 20-year-old person that understands, a kid. If you say no, that's your half brother, that's your step brother, that's your half sister, that's your stepsister, that's your foster sister, that's your adopted sister. I don't care what it is. When you start dividing the lines in a family, you're a terrible person. If you disagree with me, so bad. I'm going to have a lot of opinions on this show, most of which most people will agree with, and I'm okay if you feel differently, but I will tell you, you don't know what that does to a kid unless you've lived it. Some of you have lived through that, but it kills you. It makes you feel like you don't exist. It just that line makes you feel so different. But anyways, got on a sidetrack, but that stuff, man, it kills me. It killed me when I was younger. So that's why, like with my stepdaughter, if somebody asks me how many kids I got, I don't say, I have, you, Gage, Mike, and then I have a stepdaughter. I'm like, hey, I have 4 kids. And here they are. This is who they are. People don't even know where they came from, what walk of life they came from. Like, I have 4 kids. That's it. That's all that matters to me. my mom, they would fight, and I would just listen to them fight. And it got to the point where I remember, that age. We won't talk to. I don't want you to have to share too much right now because I know you've had to go through some things in your life, and I don't want to bring other people into it right now. But that age where you could finally feel not scared, but like rage, or like that when somebody's affecting your parent. That phase where you're just like it switches from fear, anger, and where you want to just do something about it. And I remember being, like, I mean, I had to be fifth grade. Yeah, fourth grade, maybe fourth or fifth grade. And I remember one night just storming out of my room and screaming at them both. My mom was crying. He was completely intoxicated. And I wanted to fight. I wanted to harm him. I didn't know how. I was in fourth grade, but I could see my mom just tore to pieces. And this is like 2:00 in the morning. And they obviously both are yelling at me to get back in my room, blah blah blah, because you don't want to do it except for your kids. But those moments they just stayed with me, and they built, like when I was younger, man, just built some rage up in me. Like I had a hard time, honestly, with men as I started, and still do sometimes. Like if if there's some confrontation going on with a man, I'm gonna puff my chest up very quick. I just have a short fuse when it comes to dealing with men like that. Like it's hard for me not to, if I see somebody at Walmart, treating a kid bad, or I mean, I want to jump in immediately just because it reminds me of that stuff. I remember one night they were fighting, and he had been drinking really bad. And I'm not, if my brother and sister hear this, I'm sorry, I'm not talking bad about your dad. I'm just telling my story. And so if through my story, some people don't have a positive light on them at times, I don't care. The world's about forgiveness, and I'm getting there with everybody that's why I want to tell my story now, is because I'm getting to the forgiveness part of my life. So if something I say makes somebody look bad right now, that's just, it is what it is. Looking bad 20 years later versus me having to live it as a kid is two different stories. So I'm okay with sharing these things. But could you imagine? Remember, they were fighting. They were in their room. They were just screaming and shouting. And I remember opening the door, and he was standing over top. He was in the bed, standing over top of my mom, and pouring beer or vodka, I don't know what it was, just pouring alcohol on her. And I didn't know what to do, so I just screaming at him. I'm at this point, like, I'm starting to understand cuss words, so I'm wanting to say a bad word. I don't know. I guess I thought that was powerful at the time, but in my little heart, I just couldn't do anything. I felt so hopeless, and I'm sitting there, watching my mom just take this crap, all just to keep our family together, or whatever you want to call it. The other two, I mean, I was a part of it. And by this time now, like, I'm doing anything just to rebel. I mean, I was wearing my hat sideways and bandanas and playing Eminem. My stepfather hated that stuff. And so I want to do it just to show, man, I'm nothing like you. And I'll do whatever I got. You can do this at nighttime, and in daytime, I'm going to download rap music and play it loud in my room. And I don't know. I don't know why that memory sticks out to me, but there was a lot going on, and my grandmother was staying there at the time. Must come there a lot. And from this book, I know from here they're talking. There's talks of divorce, whatever. But anyways, they decide. I don't know when that took place, but anyways, I don't want to say this in the wrong order. But so we lived there. It was getting bad. It was getting really bad. There was a 4th of July moment. We had a 4th of July party. He was extremely intoxicated. My uncle and all them were over there. Yeah, Uncle Mike was over there. I don't know if I was they wouldn't let me leave. I was trying to leave with them. Actually, I think my uncle, I'd like to find out, but I think me and Megan ended up getting put into the car. And Megan's my cousin. Megan's like my sister. She's kind of been the one person, especially age-wise, that knows kind of most of the stories of my life here. And we'll get a chance to talk to her for sure. But I remember me and Megan being in the car, and my uncle and my stepdad trying to fight, or my grandmother was on crutches and he pushed her or something. I don't know. I just remember, like, when you hurt my nana was everything. I'm talking about, that was my life. I used to, as a kid, stay up and have nightmares about the day she passed away, before she passed away, because I was so nervous to do my life without her. Because even more than my mom, my grandmother was she was my person, the one that got me through everything. And so I remember he like pushed her or something, and that's when my uncle exploded. I just remember me and Megan being in that car, and we were just screaming, like we were so scared. So my memories are very jacked up. And at this time, it was getting really bad. And we moved to Phoenix. I don't know. At some point in time, randomly, I had to leave all my friends behind. Like, to figure this part out. I'm gonna share these stories, and I hope I get the chronological order right. But I don't know if we moved to Phoenix and come back or what. But it's the first time I ever said the F word, and I'm a little older now. I'm sixth grade. They're fighting, and he won't let us back in the house. I think he kicked us out. I think this is after the fact. I need to figure that out. I'll get the order of this right. But there's a place downtown called the American Red Cross, and it's down by Reparations. He and my mom were fighting so bad one night, and she wouldn't let us in. And it was something over ice. I don't know if I dropped ice. It was a big fight over ice cubes. I like dropped ice on the floor or something. I don't know. He lost his mind, and he wouldn't let me back in the house. And I was standing on the front porch, and he said something to me, and that was the first time I ever said a swear word. I said the F word, and I said F you, like right to his face. It was the first. I mean, it felt so good. I just said F you, and he came after me. I think my mom got in the way. Anyways, kicked us out and wouldn't let me come back in and get my shoe. So we have to go stay in a homeless shelter. We ended up in a homeless shelter, me and my mom. I'm so embarrassed because I'm trying to live a normal life. Like, I'm trying to go to school, pretend like everything's fine. And it's a random Tuesday, and I'm going to a homeless shelter downtown Lexington. And he wouldn't let me get my shoes. I have one sock on and no other sock. We get loaded up. I'm pretty sure the law was called. So we ended up at a homeless shelter downtown Lexington, or the Red Cross. I guess it's a homeless shelter. I don't know, but it was emergency shelter for us. And I wanted a sock or shoe. I remember trying to hide my feet. I was sitting in this bunk, and I was just trying to hide my feet from people because I felt so ashamed. But also in there was just people that, have probably been there for a long time. So it was just so hard for me to be like, hey, here I am. One day, I'm living in a decent house in a great neighborhood in Lexington. I have an in-ground pool. I have my friends. I have sports. I'm in a homeless shelter. And I never understood it. And so things just crumbled from there. We end up moving to Phoenix. And we get on a plane. They just say, hey, we're leaving. So I have to tell all my friends, like, I'm heartbroken. Like, I go to this neighborhood that I'm used to playing in all the time, and we had like this little going away party. And I just remember riding my bike back home. And it was the first feeling of like, obviously I've been that fan, so I know life goes on without you. But that early stage of my life at like 12 or 13 is when I realized like life goes on. So like I get on my bike, I start pedaling back home, and I just hear everybody at the little party just like playing, having a good time, and playing breeze tag or night tag, wherever we're playing. Somebody's trying to spin the bottle, I don't know. And it crushed me. So we moved to Phoenix. All of us moved to Phoenix, and I need to figure out that order. I don't know if this whole us going to the homeless shelter thing was after. If we came back, because we ended up coming back. We ended up coming back to Kentucky. But I go to Phoenix. I leave my grandmother. I mean, we leave my grandmother, and that killed me. And it was just like, it was a control tactic. At this time, I don't know what the cause is. I have to find out. I don't know if he got a job or what, but it don't matter. Alcohol was consuming his everyday life. My mom was barely hanging in there. She couldn't hardly raise the kids. She's stressed out. And we go to Phoenix, and we go move in with his mom and dad. So then now, hey, look, now I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. I live in a very nice house. We have a boat on a private little pond lake thing in the neighborhood. I get enrolled in this middle school, and I finally get going again. And we're there for, I don't even know if we're there a year. Again, I'm gonna have to spot check some of my stuff, and I'll make follow-up episodes to know for sure. But so we get to Phoenix, live there for a while. All crap breaks loose somehow, and I remember getting signed out of school. We get on a flight. We're coming back to there. I guess they go through. They finally end up getting divorced. He has to sell the house and stuff, but we fly back with just one sibling. He has one of them, and she has the other, and me. We just have my brother and my sister, one of the two. We came back to the house. That's the thing. That's what it was. We came back to Lexington, and we got the house until he was able to sell it. So I went back to middle school there. We come back. I get enrolled in middle school. This time though, I have a caseworker, like a family of the courts caseworker, because of how nasty this divorce, I guess, was going. I don't know. And so she stayed with us. I can't think of her name, but she was awesome. But also, like, it's like, here I am trying to be normal when I have this court appointed caseworker that's to come with my mom to pick me up from football practice and stuff. And it just felt so weird. I just felt so out of place. And at that point in time, like, I remember we get the caseworker, and my mom, we start driving to multiple towns, and she's going to different doctors. And so, like, we're going to Lexington, we're going to Nicholasville, we're going to Danville, we're going somewhere else. I don't know where we went, but each place we go, she's going to a doctor's appointment, and they're prescribing her medication. Now, I think today's world, I hope to God now that they pay attention to that, but she was getting, like, prescription medication from every doctor she went to. She got a new prescription. And so she started taking that stuff, man. That's why it freaks me out. This stuff just freaks me out. But she would take all kinds of different prescription medication. And it got to the point to where, then she started drinking. I'm like, how can you drink? Like, how can you drink? We just fled a man that has literally had our life handcuffed in trauma because all he did was drink. And then now here you are drinking as well. And I know I can tell that she went through a lot of crap, and I see that now. But so she starts taking all this medicine. She starts drinking. Then my sister or my brother moved back to my mom's house, and they're doing some shared custody stuff. I don't know when they end up going back to Phoenix. It's getting bad, man. It's getting really bad. I'm taking care of my brother and my sister. They're maybe, I don't know if they're 4 and 5 or 5 and 6. But I'm doing everything for them, man. I'm feeding them. School is the least of my priorities at this time. Stopped playing sports for a while, and my goal is just to keep me and my brother and my sister alive. I'm watching my mom take medicine and just pass out in the couch, and it was so scary to see, like, when you're a kid, like, the adult in your life, you just do that, just become like that. And this is also, I didn't even yeah, I got to get I got to structure somehow, because my grandmother's passed at this point. My grandmother died of cancer. I couldn't even go into her funeral. I don't know if we lived in Phoenix and flew in for that, or if we were already living back in Kentucky, but I can still remember it's on Harrodsburg Road, I think, the funeral home. And I can still remember just sitting in the parking lot and do that. Like, when my grandmother died, any security that I had in the world, I just lost it. Like, I felt so alone. Obviously, she was I want to save that conversation she deserves her own episode. But she was the only reason I was even knew about God. Anything faith-based was for my grandmother. And I just remember being so angry. And I would, like, cuss. I would just cuss at God. I wanted him to know, like, I hate you. I hate you. Like, God, I hate you because you did this to me. You took the only person that could keep me safe from the world. I'm sure my grandmother's death had something to do with her and my mom too, because she relied on her for everything. And this book talks about how much she relied on her for just every little thing. So after my grandmother passed and after we moved back to Kentucky and my mom started drinking and getting on the medication, she started meeting these different crazy men. But it got to the point to where it was getting physical. Me and my mom were physical with each other. The house was so nasty. We just lived in these nasty. We were moving every 5 or 6 months. The house was so nasty. Like the houses I lived in were so nasty, man. I can smell them and it gives me just like anxiousness. She wouldn't clean or do dishes. So, I mean, it was just like there'd be coffee grinds and coffee filters everywhere and it's empty Diet Pepsi cans and, vodka bottles and beer bottles. And I just knew I had to tell somebody, you know what I'm saying? Like I just had to tell somebody. And so eventually I was going to counseling. I had a court, I guess I was appointed by the court. I had to do it. And, I covered for her for so long. We were on Section 8 and no offense to Section 8, but like my mom's always relied on government assistance to get us through. And we would just move to these areas and I would just feel so ashamed of embarrassing my mom and stuff. Like I just want to live a normal life. She was passing out and doing all these medications and just sleep. Man, she just sleep. Kids would be up and finally just I told the caseworker. I told her, I said, hey, this is what's going on. And they removed my brother and my sister from my mom and sent them back to Phoenix with their dad. And somehow, Kentucky court systems, I'm just kidding kind of when I call you out on this. My brother and my sister get removed from the home. You folks just left me there? Like what? You literally left me. I just reported this. I'm literally going, and I hope to God this never gets to anybody that worked that case. I'm sure it won't. But how is it legal to remove 2 minors from a home and leave one? Like, you just left me there with somebody that couldn't even take care of themselves. So yeah, my brother and sister left. They got removed. Went back to Phoenix. My mom to this day still, when she gets drunk and texts me or whatever, she still blames me for that. And, that's something that I understand now. I'm 36. But like hearing that you're the reason why your mom lost her kids. Like my mom would just tell me, you're the reason I don't have your brother and sister. You're the reason they're out there. It's your fault they're gone. Like, dude, I mean, I just felt like crap. There was a lot of days early on through middle school that I didn't want to be alive. I did not want to be here at all. I just didn't want to be here. And then, at this point in time, like my dad's nowhere around. My mom met a guy. She was just dating these random dudes. She met a guy, and again, I'm still probably 6th grade at this point. She met a guy and started dating him, and he moved in with us. He acted cool at first. He played some hunting game with me, PlayStation. And he abused my mom, and they would fight and drink. And I remember the day that they decided to move my room out in the garage, and he put a couch out there. Then they rotated the locks, like the door locked from the inside, like from in the house. So, like, imagine being in our garage, and imagine just wanting to come in your house and you can't. Mom and this dude like won't let you in their house. You sit in the garage. I remember it was like, December. It was cold, man. It was just cold in there. And I think if I would have just talked more about it to my uncle or people around me, I think that I would have got out of those situations quicker. But I didn't. Like I didn't, because at the same time, I had so much freedom. I could do whatever I want, but I had so much freedom that I was scared to tell my uncle or somebody because I was going to have to go live in a house and have all these rules. I just wasn't used to that. But I think now I'm like, man, I literally lived in a garage. Like I had to go to the bathroom so bad, and I couldn't go inside, and I had to use it in a bucket. So yeah, over time I built up resentment for my mom. Like I just, how can you do that to a kid? And I'm like, why didn't I tell somebody at school? Why didn't I do anything when I get out? I don't know. It's just, I was embarrassed because at the same time I was trying to have a normal life, try to go to think about middle school. Like you try to go I wanted to play sports. I wanted to hang out with friends. But then I go home and get locked in the garage when I get home. And so we end up, after all that happens, she marries my next stepdad. So now this dude, rest in peace, because he's dead now. And I say that he has children, so he was great with his daughters, and so I want to respect his name, but he was not great to me. So my mom marries him. He's a full-blown alcoholic. Full-blown alcoholic. Bad. They're bad for each other. Terrible. I think I went to 4 or 5 different middle schools just through then, including Phoenix. So I just bounced around all through middle school. And so my mom then meets this other guy, gets married to him. He has some kids. They primarily live with their mother. My brother and my sister officially, they're gone in Phoenix. My mom marries this guy, and all they do is drink and drink and drink and fight. And me and him are fist fight. I'm in 7th grade, and I'm coming home from school. I'm having a snack, and then I'm fist fighting some 40-year-old man every night. And it was just so bad. They would just drink it. I remember he made me get in a car with him. And, excuse me. He made me get in the car with him, and he drove my mom. My mom had this old Buick car, this old green car. He was so drunk. And then back in the day, you couldn't buy alcohol in Georgetown. So you had to drive to this spot in Lexington to get alcohol. And I remember he took this back road there. He turned off the headlights and went like 90 miles an hour. And it was like literally just telling us, hey, I'm gonna kill us both. We're both dying tonight. How do you like that? We're both gonna die. You hate me, I hate you. We're both about to die. And I'm like trying to grab the steering wheel. I'm just trying to see the lights. And I'm like replaying in my head. I'm thinking like, do I just need to jump out of this car? And there's a big hill as you go. And I remember we hit this hill, and just like kind of in the movies, we hit and like sparks come out from where everything on the bottom of the car hit the ground. And that was every night. Like those activities, like, you come home here and we have dinner. We go to a game or we watch a movie. Like every night when I went home, I was getting beat up or threatened or hit with things or locked out or, just whatever you can imagine. And like, and then when we moved to Georgetown, like my cousin Megan and then my uncle, like they're great. And they have great friends. They're all popular. And I'm trying to fit into that culture, and I'm trying to, because I'm a funny guy. Like I go to school, I'm doing normal things. I'm trying so hard to fit into that culture. But the difference is, I go home and live the life that I live, and it just wears on you, and you're so just embarrassed. And I think my uncle knows a lot, but I don't know. I don't know if I think that I hid from telling him stuff early on because I knew like if he had me come live at his house, like they had rules. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't have rules. Like I was out running the streets. I just didn't have to be in, and I didn't have to be home. They were all jacked up. I want to touch more on this. I think this is a good episode 1. I'm missing a lot of stuff. It's crazy. I feel like I've skipped through things, and I hope people don't think that it's on purpose or that I'm all over the place. But like, I really don't remember certain things until I talk about it, and then it triggers me. But you have your mom, you have me, your dad, you have a stepmom, and your mom is engaged right now. You have aunts and uncles and grandparents, and like what you wake up to daily is what I begged God for as a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like I just wanted a dad so bad. Like I just wanted a dad. I don't know what a dad does at the time, but I just wanted one. Like I would play football by myself, and I know a lot of kids did back then. I would like be the quarterback. I'd throw it and I'd run and catch it, and I just wanted to throw it to somebody, just wanted to throw it to somebody else. And so as you got older, and this isn't even tied to this episode, but just there's so many things in my life that had begged for that I eventually get, like I get now. I remember you were just a little baby, and I was just, I could, when I found out we were having a boy, man, I was so excited. I was like, I can't wait to do everything, selfishly too. It's sometimes I can't wait to do everything that I missed on. Like throwing a football to you for the first time was like, you're used to it. I mean, heck, I've thrown a football to you since you could walk. And even now we get out here and, the days that there's been days where like, Dad, come throw. I'm like, "Ah, man, I don't want to get out." And then I have to replay my head. Like, I wanted somebody to be there for me to ask that question too. So it's like, I'm so lucky. All the things that I prayed for when I was younger. And, I've received them now in full. And God has blessed me a lot. And I can't wait to share those as we progress through this show. And I see now at the time, I'm like, at the time, like without all that hardship, and there's stories I haven't touched on. There's things I just can't remember. I mean, we can do a whole show on me living at we lived in domestic violence shelters, me and my mom. That was horrendous. Living in a shelter of it was abused women and kids. And that's where we lived. And then, that's its own segment and its own stories. And so there's so many stuff like that I have that I hope I don't bore you with, and I hope I don't bore the people watching, but I just want to share those with you just so you can learn a little bit about me as your dad that maybe I would never have the opportunity to tell you. And also just as, things I want you, the day ever comes that you become a father, I want you to know just how important it is. Because there are homes right now that have no fathers in them. And there are great mothers out there, man. There's some awesome moms. There's some awesome aunts, uncles, grandparents. There's some awesome people raising kids. You know what I'm saying? But a home without a father, there's a difference. You can tell a difference. I can tell a difference in kids. Like you can see who doesn't have a father at home. You can tell. And that's no knock on anybody. And I hope nobody takes disrespect to that. But it is what it is. Part one, I guess. I don't know. I touched on a lot, but there's some things I want to revisit. There's definitely some things I want to revisit with my other stepdad that I just talked about recently. And there's definitely some major things I want to talk to you about my mom. And to give a backstory here, since we're, first episode, it's kind of, I'm introducing characters in my life and without kind of a background. My mom, I'll say your grandmother. My mom lives in Phoenix. She's been there, 2000? I was in Afghanistan. She was here for a while, not living a very healthy lifestyle.
I got to see her at that remember that? What's that? Like apartment downtown Mount Sterling?
Yeah, she lived above.
Like the boutique shop.
It used to be called like Terry and Kathy's. Now it's Romero's or something. But she lived in those apartments. And yeah, she watched you a couple times when I would go to the gym.
Remember, because I was like running out the hallway.
Yeah, I went off.
There.
Yeah, snap. Sorry, old guy in those apartments. I snapped on you. I was just out of the military, and you were harassing my 4 or 5-year-old son that was staying with my crazy mother. And so, yes, I snapped on you for yelling at my son. I'm sorry. Apologize for that. If you can, I don't know who you are or where you are, but okay, don't say that. My mom, anyways, just to introduce my mom. My mom was an amazing lady. My mom gave up on me. My mom is in Phoenix now. She barely gets by. I try to financially take care of her. I'm forgiving her. She's borderline home. We try to take care of her as much as we can, but she misuses money. She doesn't do things the right way. She's habitually got something wrong with her that's not truly wrong with her. She drinks. She has hundreds of pill bottles at her home. It's been like that for years. It was sad to watch her turn into that. And I've tried to support her along the way, but it's done nothing but harm me more. And so my mom's been able to continually hurt me for years in my life. After, I feel like my mom was a solid person until I was about 10. So from 10 to maybe 12, my mom still to this day will talk about this pair of Nike Shox that she bought me when I was in 6th grade. and they were $120. And she reminds me of that to this day and expects me to send her things because she bought me shoes. Like, dude, you're my mom. That was the most expensive pair of shoes I ever received in my life from her. And she bought me those. But yeah, so my mom is something I would like to touch base on. It's a very hard conversation. I got a chance to go visit her this past few months ago for the first time since I don't know, maybe 2010. It was not a good experience.
It wasn't 2010.
Right, that's true. That's when you were born. So it was like 24, 25, or
Last time she lived here.
Yeah, 2014, 2015. So it was not a good experience. It's somebody I'd like to talk more about because I do think she's been through a lot of stuff, and I understand how she got to this point because it happens to a lot of people. But we've made no attempt at getting her better, and so I'm still working through that. That's one of those boxes that when I say in previous little episodes that it's a box that I haven't unpacked, I really haven't unpacked that, and I don't know how much longer she's got to live with the lifestyle that she lives, and it's so hard to figure that out because all I can do to stay mentally sane for me is keep space. But then the more space I keep, the more time. Like I try to get close and it fails every time, and it's hurtful for me, time and time again, and it just brings me back to, it's been a few months ago, but I'm just laying in bed crying. I'm 36 years old and have a family and life, and I just recently got voicemail this year because my mom used to get so intoxicated she would call and leave me 300 voicemails or whatever the max is in a night, and she would just talk through all of them like it was me on the voicemail. And the text messages that she sends, she does talk to text, and I have to keep her on silent because she'll send. But that's something I would like to talk about. I definitely talk a little bit more about my biological father. Then the second stepdad that I have. I want to get all the gritty stuff out of the way, and then talk about my older teenage years where it really gets bad before it gets better.
You can cut this if you want. I know you probably want to have a full conversation with him, but I would love to have a conversation with him.
My dad?
Yeah. With you. I would just want to sit over there on the couch.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna, I mean,
I don't know what he looks like.
I know. My goal is to, I don't have any hard feelings towards my dad, honestly. I don't. I do know for a while, I do know I have siblings on his side that I've never met. And I do know for a while it seemed like he was doing pretty good raising his other kids. That was hard to see for a while, like seeing him raise other kids. But since then, it doesn't look like he's very involved there. And that's, you know what, that's okay. I don't have any hard feelings. I want to hear his story before he dies, before I die, whoever dies first. I want to sit down and hear his story. And so I'm not saying he owes me anything, and I'm not saying that I shouldn't go ahead and extend grace anyways, but I do want, I think a conversation with me and him like this here, yeah, it'd be for people to see or hear. But I think that he and I having a conversation about life and how we got to where we are, and dude, look at what I've done, look at how far I've made it, and I can forgive you. Just have a conversation with me. Let's just talk, and we don't ever have to talk again if you don't want to, but let's just hash this out. And I think people here will be able to relate, and maybe it'll help other people have closure. And I think that's what I want from my dad is me and him sit down and talk to where maybe we can help other people. And I'm not, again, that's why I'm on here. I'm not trying to paint anybody in my life as a bad person. But if I'm being honest, at times they're going to look like bad people because they did bad things. So did I. When we get to my 16, 17, I was reckless and wild. But when it comes to, I take accountability. The difference is I'm having to take accountability as a child. I'm taking accountability for my actions as a 15, 16, 17-year-old boy. And I'm asking the people that hurt me in my life that were adults to take accountability. And that's what bothers me a little bit. But anyways, I think this was a good first episode.
It was.
It's really good. I appreciate you listening. I think that this format's been a lot better. I do appreciate you hearing me.
Thanks for having
Yeah, I believe that you are mature enough at this point in your life to know kind of who I am. I know you get to see me, in how I interact with you, but I want you to understand that I had choices to make to get here, and everything that I have done with you as my son is not because I've seen somebody do it. It's because I haven't seen somebody do it, and so I just said, you know what, I'm gonna do the complete opposite of what happened to me, and maybe this will work. And so I think it has. It's been really good. We've built a crazy awesome relationship, and I'm excited to share that. Kind of when me and you have the show, and not just listen to me, just me and you talk back and forth. I pray to God that this audio worked out, and I hope these camera angles are okay. Again, guys, hey, this is literally episode 1. We are going from not having any idea to having microphones, an audio overlay. We have 2 cameras, lights, tripods. We've removed our computers so we can set this up to make it look like a little cool spot. We will get set up for episode 2, and we will go back a little bit and probably try to fix some of the things I've said tonight. And then we'll get into those deeper teenage years. And then, I want to go my military time. And then after that, I want to talk about like my coaching from kindergarten, flag football till, I stepped away at the middle school level. I want that to be like the last segment before we go into stuff, because I think people talking about the coaching part with people will finally understand how much I really cared about their kids and how much their kids meant to me. So I'm excited to just share all those details.
I like take it deeper because like a lot of people, like, if you don't know my dad, you just think he just screams and yells, and no, but he truly, like, if you played any sport for my dad, like, he truly does love your kid. Like, he loves you because like you build a bond with him that like you never break. And he says, like, he's told every team he's ever coached, like, it's like I'm Coach Warren on the field, but I'm Michael off the field, and if you need me, call me, text me, I'm there.
Yeah. I know I don't mean that. Now, some of these kids have been annoying, but I love all y'all to death, and I'm excited to just kind of share that last point. I think that'll help some of the parents maybe that have kind of been through this journey with me. I know there's been some parents that have gotten a good right hand, left hand seat with me. And so they'll probably hear this and shake their head and smile, knowing that, there's a lot more to me. So I'm just excited to get that out and have a little talk about that too. So from there, I'm going to be done talking about me, and we got some good guests coming on the show. If you're interested in talking about anything, please message me on Facebook. You can text me on my personal cell phone number if you have it. You can DM us on TikTok, DM us on Instagram, any platform that really we're available on, you can reach out to. We want to build up a good guest list. So if you have a story you want to share, this is a good platform to do it. And I look for this thing to grow. I just want it to grow slow, and I don't want it to grow for popularity. I want to grow because people are getting helped, or people are able to come here and get things off their chest and walk out the door and feel, a bit different about themselves. So, all right, we've talked enough. It is late. Thank you guys for tuning in. Gage, thank you for sitting here listening to me.
Thank you for having me.
Yep, perfect. We will see you guys on episode 2. I don't have an outro yet. See you guys. We'll talk to you next time.